Looking for insights into your love life and relationships? Join me and pick a card. Keep watching. Hi, it's Leia. Welcome to this episode of Diaries of a Witchy Creative Life. Let's do some shadow work today with a different kind of reading. Valentine's Day is approaching as I film this, and while I already have a lot of other love videos on this channel and will continue to put out more love videos, I was inspired to put together this particular one. The deck we are using is Crystal Visions Tarot by Jennifer Galasso. We are throwing it way back with that deck in the 2010s. I loved using that deck for reading videos. If you're new here, unless I've taken those videos out of hiding, you won't see them because I put them on private. After being on a years-long hiatus, they might still come back. But anyhow, this is what we're doing. We will be pulling 6 cards from the deck, each of which stands for something. And I'd like you to pick a card. You might even pick several if more than one applies to you. Let me explain a little more. This deck has been pre-shuffled prior to filming. I like giving the decks a thorough shuffling before filming the reading. But here, let's give it a little bit more. We'll be picking 6 cards, and I'm going to explain what each one stands for in just a second. And before we start, I might as well move this lovely creature over here, although she's going to be covered up in a few moments by the card that will be sitting here anyway. So, okay, this is card number 1, which is for anyone who's single. Card number 2 is for anyone who's in a relationship. Card number 3 is for anyone who feels like they're struggling in their relationship. Card number 4 is for someone who's wanting someone they shouldn't be with or can't be with. Card number 5 is for those who are looking for or seeking a relationship. And card number 6 is for those who are grieving. Some of those cards may overlap for you. And there's a variety of people who watch these videos, so I'm leaving it up to you to discern and listen for what applies to you. As with the other videos on this channel, the style of this reading is not predictive. We're going to do shadow work here, dive into some self-discovery, and journal keepers out there have a lot of inspiration to work with. So please, use the questions that come up here for journaling purposes if it so pleases you. Let's get started. Card number 1 is for those who are single. It is the Queen of Cups. I'll put her right here. The Queen of Cups is sensitive, emotional, loving, artistic, intuitive. My question for you now is, how can you nurture these traits in yourself? The Queen of Cups, being a very caring personality, is the sort of person who, when evolved, does very well in a relationship. And you don't have to be in a relationship with someone else to develop these traits in yourself. So what does honing any of these traits that I mentioned mean for you? For some, for example, you might realize that you've been living in your head a lot. You might have many worries and fears that keep you from feeling or from getting in touch with yourself, with your true nature. So how can you connect more with that emotional aspect of yourself? Do you maybe need to begin a self-care practice? Or if you already have one, maybe you can make some changes to it in such a way where it serves you better, helps you tap into the parts of yourself that I mentioned earlier much better. And again, that's being sensitive, emotional, loving, artistic, creative, intuitive. Whether you're enjoying the single life right now and aren't seeking to be in a relationship with someone, or are keeping your eyes open for someone that you could be involved with, it is not wasted time or energy to become more of a nurturer, because first and foremost, you do need to nurture yourself. Some people have the tendency to want to be loving towards other people, but they don't prioritize themselves at all. So for some of you out there, this could be your little nudge, your reminder to take better care of yourself, or to more consciously do so. It could be that generally you already take better care of yourself than the average person does, like you have habits that you've stuck with over the years that have served you well, but there's always room to have more fun with that. Let's say you've started taking some of that for granted. How about taking some time to romance yourself? Cook yourself a meal you really enjoy, or if you don't cook, then you could get takeout and treat yourself. Maybe there's a book you've been wanting, or you would like more time for bubble baths. The message of this card could mean different things for different people. Those are just examples. So by all means, find your version of that. Let's move on to card number 2, which is for those who are in a relationship. It is the 10 of Cups. The 10 of Cups is the happily ever after card. How can you more fully enjoy your relationship or your time together? How can you strengthen your bond even more? As in, develop both the friendship and romantic aspects, not just one or the other. Sometimes relationships tend to have a more developed romantic side, but the partners might not, especially in the beginning, really know each other that well, so the friendship may have not yet been developed. And if that's the case for you, maybe you can take some steps to balance that out. Since after all, a good relationship, while romance is important, so is friendship. A romantic partner is ideally a friend and not just a lover. While for some people, maybe your friendship is pretty strong, but in the romance department, you could say you've been needing more of that. So what can you do to make more time for that? How can you be more intentional in your relationship? It's great if everything is going wonderfully at this point on its own without you even having to try, like you guys are madly in love with each other and everything's flowing. But nevertheless, you can ask yourself how you can be more present. Or for some relationships out there, it could be that it's time to move to the next step or the next phase. And again, with a variety of people who watch this, that means different things for different people. So for some, that could be seeing each other more frequently. For others, it could be moving in together. For others, it could be deciding to have a child. For some, maybe they want to get a pet together. Others could be contemplating a big purchase, like a house. Ponder over what you can do to be, like I said earlier, more present in the relationship, more fully in it. Even if all that means for you is to savor the moments you're together, to enjoy, to feel how grateful you are for this time in your life. So moving on to the third card. This one is for those who are in a struggling relationship. It is the 10 of Wands. It is resisting going into the slot. Okay. The 10 of Wands is about being overwhelmed. It's about carrying a lot of weight and feeling burdened. So think about how you may be carrying more than your fair share in this relationship. Or it could also be the opposite, which is maybe the other person is carrying more than their fair share. Either way, it needs to be addressed. And by carrying more than your fair share, this doesn't just mean the responsibilities in the relationship, although that certainly is one of the interpretations. It could also mean how might you be making yourself responsible when that isn't your load or burden to carry. To further explain, somebody who is codependent always wants to fix things. They feel any sort of discomfort, they come running to the rescue of their partner. Or if their partner's angry, they put it upon themselves to correct that or to make their partner happy. It is an entirely different thing to be there for your partner as they go through something, to hold their hand through it, versus put it on your shoulders to make sure they're not angry anymore. Could be, for example, that they have an issue with their friend, and it's not your business at all, whatever it is they're going through or dealing with, but you take it upon yourself to contact their friend. And you basically get in the middle of their business because you're trying to play mediator, even though nobody asked you. And for some of you out there, it could be that you are plainly and simply overwhelmed. There could be a lot going on, whether it's in the relationship itself or in your life. And it's time for you to see what you can set down, what you no longer need to carry, what has been detrimental to your personal well-being and to the well-being of your relationship because you're carrying it. Of course, not all struggling relationships recover. For others, it could be that you are at the end of the line, and this is your opportunity to get clarity on how you got here and what you want to do about that moving forward. That was card number 3. Now we have card number 4, which is for those who are wanting to be with someone they can't be with. Okay, this is the 4 of Swords. I'm just waiting for it to focus. There we go. 4 of Swords. The message for you here, if you're wanting to be with someone you aren't with or can't be with, is how can you step back from this situation to reflect and rejuvenate yourself? This card is about resting and recharging, filling up your tank again. I did mention reflecting earlier, and by that I don't mean reflecting on all the ways you and this person aren't together and how much you miss them or want to be with them. Reflecting here is more along the lines of what you can do for you. You stepping back from the situation is for you to be able to take better care of your well-being. In some situations where a person isn't with someone they'd like to be with but can't be with, this person may tend to do everything they can for stolen moments. Like they basically live for this person even though they may see them very infrequently or not at all. But in some of these cases, their life is basically on hold. They come to life. They get excited when they get a text or a phone call from this person they want to be with. And the rest of the time, they're just dead, just going through the motions, but not really thrilled to be alive. All their energy is focused on that other person, on this non-relationship. That, of course, is still a relationship because, it still exists in some way. And so the message here is how you can start to take your power back. It doesn't mean that you stop loving the person you want, but you gotta take care of yourself too. And it is a process. It's not like it's gonna happen overnight or pretty soon after you make the decision to take better care of yourself that you'll stop missing them. It could be a while, but it is a process, and you might as well start that process now rather than keep putting it off, even if it means doing it very slowly. No one's telling you that you have to delete all those person's texts right now or get rid of any mementos that you have of them. You can do that at your own pace. But what step can you take right now to begin taking your power back and begin taking care of you and focusing more on yourself, even if it is just a little baby step? That was card number 4. The slot thing is happening. There we go. For card number 5, we have 0 in the Major Arcana, the Fool. And this is for those who are seeking a relationship, actively looking for one. symbolizes being at the beginning of a journey, starting anew, starting fresh. So this is really very fitting for the position of this card. And so for you who are at this point in your life, the question is, how can you balance out enjoying this time with also being mindful, being careful? Because the Fool does warn about being too naive. And so that is a consideration. Maybe you have patterns in the past that you want to make sure you don't repeat this time around. Maybe you can be more aware of certain traits or red flags that show up in the people that you meet. Maybe if you notice yourself starting to act a certain way that wasn't beneficial in your past relationships, you can now catch yourself. Let's use codependency again as an example. If you have a tendency to fix things, or to want to fix things before you're even asked, or even if it isn't your responsibility, you could catch yourself the moment that you see yourself running to change something that isn't yours to fix or change. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it is also about having fun, being open, finding joy in your experiences. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You don't have to simply rush blindly into something, because you do have your previous experiences to learn from and to lean on, to give you guidance about how to move forward. And at the same time, you don't have to be jaded. Even if you got hurt in the past, who's to say you have to experience the same things again? And make sure to watch your step. No one's saying don't move forward. Just pay attention to the path that you are on, because you can always course correct as necessary. That was card number 5. Our 6th card is for those who are grieving, those who've lost someone, or those who've been through a breakup. It is the 7 of Cups. So again, for some of you out there, some of these cards might overlap. Let's say someone who's grieving, to whom this card applies. The other card earlier, card number 4, about wanting to be with someone you aren't with or can't be with, that might apply to you as well. Or maybe you're in a relationship that's struggling, as card number 3 addressed, but you consider yourself to be grieving already right now because you know that it's as good as over. So by all means, listen to the messages of multiple cards as they apply to you. Okay, so card number 6, our last but not least card in this reading, is for those who are grieving. And with the 7 of Cups, my question for you is, how might you be distracting yourself from the grief or from the reality of your situation? Maybe for some, you don't want to accept that your relationship is over. So you might be going over scenarios in your head about what will happen when you finally get back together. Or for some, you're in denial that whatever caused the relationship to end really did happen. For example, you were cheated on, and you keep telling yourself over and over again that they couldn't possibly have done that to you. But you know it's true. You witnessed it with your own eyes, and now you're gaslighting yourself, basically. And these are all ways of coping. Sometimes we choose to do them so that we don't fall into a place of great despair, or we're trying to protect ourselves from hurting really, really badly. It does help, though, to have a part of yourself that acknowledges that you are using these coping mechanisms. But nevertheless, you know the truth. You know the relationship is over. You know that you were mistreated. Or in the case of some people, maybe it was you who did something, and maybe telling the other person that you didn't do what it is that you know you actually did. And maybe there's a part of you that's starting to believe that too. And there isn't any judgment here. We all do all sorts of stuff that we might not feel proud of at some point. But it does help to have awareness around this so that we don't keep spiraling or fall even deeper into delusion. Maybe you can begin journaling about this now if you haven't started yet. or see a therapist or a counselor if the grief really is eating you up and you don't know what else to do. You don't have any friends or family that you trust to share all these feelings with. Maybe you can seek someone who is actually qualified to help. Bare minimum, the message here is to have more awareness around the ways that you might be keeping yourself from accepting the truth of the situation. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. For those who resonate with your messages, I'm glad that you found insights here. I'll be back with so many more shadow work, self-awareness, inner growth, tarot type videos. So please subscribe if you haven't yet so that you don't miss a thing. Till next time, take care of yourself. Bye for now. Stay tuned for lots more Diaries of a Witchy Creative Life.